Late afternoons in Nashville have a golden hue all their own. Not the blazing gold of sunset, but a gentler light, the kind that touches the heart and leaves an echo behind. Backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, amid walls lined with memories, there stands a single microphone. No spotlight shines upon it. No one really notices it. Yet the moment a voice rises from that spot, the entire room seems to fall perfectly back into rhythm. That voice belongs to Duane Allen, not the highest voice, not the lowest, not the first name the crowd shouts when the lights come up. But if he ever stopped singing, the music would crumble, like a house suddenly missing its pillar. The Oak Ridge Boys could set any stage on fire, but it is Duane who keeps that fire from ever losing its way. In every song, when Joe soars high, when William Lee raps the melody in old Southern nostalgia, and when Sturbin sends that deep bass rolling through the earth, it is Duane who anchors them all, the quiet center that holds everything together. Some legends are born to stand in the light, and some are born to keep that light from fading away. Today, we're not telling the story of the man in front. We're telling the story of the man behind, the one who made the world believe everything was steady, because he never allowed the rhythm to fall apart. This is the story of Duane Allen, a man who sang not to stand out, but to let others shine. And perhaps that is the deepest kind of glory an artist can ever touch. Duane Allen was born in 1943 in Taylortown, Texas, a place where church bells rang louder than traffic, where fields of grass stretched as far as the eye could see, and where people believed music was not a performance, but a way of living. His family wasn't wealthy, but they had something far more enduring than money: faith. Each morning, the radio played Southern gospel hymns. Each evening, the family gathered around a small dinner table and sang together, hymns filled with honesty and devotion. The church became Duane's first classroom. There, he learned that singing wasn't about standing in front. It was about walking with others. A true voice knows when to step back, so the voice beside it can be heard more clearly. Harmony, he discovered, is only beautiful when everyone breathes as one. The Texas community raised him in that spirit. That strength isn't found in singing the loudest, but in keeping the whole choir from falling out of rhythm. And in those bright Texas mornings, inside that small church where a quiet boy stood among the chorus, the seed of a keeper of rhythm was planted. A voice destined not to dominate, but to hold everything together. When he was old enough to leave the fields of Texas, Duane Allen didn't choose the easy road. He chose music, not the kind made for grand stages or blinding lights, but the kind found on long, dusty roads, in small churches standing quiet in nameless towns, and in gatherings where the audience sat on just a few wooden benches. He studied music formally at East Texas State University. There, his voice was sharpened through technique, but it was life beyond the classroom that carved the deepest marks into him. He joined small traveling gospel groups. No money, no fame. Just an old car, a few worn suits, and a belief that if music is made with truth, it will find its home in the listener's heart. Some nights they sang for 10 people. Some nights for 2. And some nights, no one came at all. But Duane never gave up. He didn't sing for applause. He sang because he knew his voice had a purpose: to hold harmony together among those trying to sing as one. During those years, he was never the standout. No one called him the next big star. No magazine printed his name. But every journey taught him something deeper about music. To create beautiful harmony, you must first learn to listen. To stand strong, you must know when to yield. And for a band to never fall apart, someone must keep the rhythm from within, quietly, unseen. Those lessons weren't written in textbooks. They were learned through hundreds of nights on forgotten stages, singing for people who might not remember his name the next morning. But those nights without applause were the ones that prepared him for everything to come. Because before he ever became the voice heard by millions, Duane Allen had already learned to be the voice beside others, a voice that lived to lift everyone else higher. 1966. Nashville was changing. Gospel was evolving, country was searching for a new voice, and church quartets were beginning to dream beyond the chapel walls. It was in that moment of transition that the Oak Ridge Boys began looking for a new singer. Not a voice to stand tall as a cymbal, but one strong enough to lead and gentle enough to lift others higher. Someone who could make every voice around him blend into a single soul. And they found Duane Allen. There were no fireworks, no shouts of excitement, just a simple audition room, a few wooden chairs, and a familiar gospel hymn. But when Duane began to sing, the room fell still. Not because he sang loudly, not because he reached for high notes, but because his voice made everyone else sing better. The Oak Ridge Boys didn't need another spotlight. They needed someone who could keep them from drifting apart. And in that quiet moment, no one spoke, yet everyone knew. We've just found our cornerstone. From that day on, Duane was no longer the boy singing his way through Texas churches. He became the lead voice of the Oak Ridge Boys. Not because he stood in front, but because he made sure those who did never fell. The change didn't arrive with cheers. It came in a single, silent second. Like the subtle shift of a heartbeat you only notice once the music sounds different. And from that moment forward, the sound of the Oak Ridge Boys would never be the same again. By the late 1970s, the Oak Ridge Boys were no longer just a traveling gospel quartet. They had stepped into the vast current of American country music, carrying with them something no other group possessed, a lead voice strong enough to let the entire harmony soar, yet steady enough to keep it from ever falling apart. Songs like Y'all Come Back Saloon, Leaving Louisiana in the Broad Daylight, and Bobbie Sue began echoing across radio stations nationwide. Sturbon's bass rumbled like the earth itself. Joe Bonzel's tenor burned like fire. William Lee Golden brought the nostalgic breath of old Southern days. And Duane held it all together, a straight, unwavering line through the storm of sound. Then came Elvira, a song that seemed simple, catchy, fun. But what made it explode wasn't what most people heard. It was the invisible precision, the way the harmonies never collided even as each voice went its own way. Without Duane, it would have been just 4 men singing. Because of Duane, it became one singular force of sound. Awards flooded in. Grammy, CMA, ACM, their names became fixtures on the Billboard country charts. They toured across America, and every time that first chord rang out, the crowd rose like a wave. Yet, amid the roaring lights and endless applause, Duane never changed expression. He didn't reach higher. He didn't demand the spotlight. He simply leaned toward the microphone, placed his breath exactly where it belonged, and let the rest of the group rise upon the strength of his tone. Some singers chase the light, but artists like Duane Allen, they become the place where light finds its balance. In Nashville, they called him the Golden Voice, not because he sang higher or louder, but because his voice was the anchor a million listeners could trust. On stage, Joe could soar, Sturban could thunder. Golden could tell stories with the weight of the past in his stance. But without Duane, it would all slip through like sand between fingers. At their peak, The Oak Ridge Boys weren't just famous, they were an institution, and the silent heartbeat keeping that institution steady was Duane Allen. The golden years of the Oak Ridge Boys shone so brightly that most people believed everything on stage was made of light. Audiences saw joy, applause, and chart-topping hits. But behind that brilliance, there was always a softer, dimmer, deeper glow. And it was there that Duane Allen's true role revealed itself. On stage, every member had a moment to shine. Joe Bonsall lifted the melody skyward like a soaring bird. William Lee Golden stood as the living emblem of Southern memory. Richard Sturban sent his bass rumbling through the floor like the heartbeat of the earth. And Duane, he stood at the center. Not the center of the spotlight, but the center that kept everything from breaking apart. The lead voice could not falter, could not miss a note, could not stray from the path for even half a breath. Because if he did, if he slipped by a single beat, the entire harmony would collapse like a wall without its foundation. It was pressure no one could hear, but it was always there. People talked about the fire, the glory, the cheers, but almost no one spoke of the weight carried by the one who keeps time, the man who must sing perfectly even when his heart is tired, who must stand firm even when everyone else is allowed to soar. There were nights after the shows, when the crowd was gone, when the noise had vanished, and Duane sat alone with his guitar. No bass, no tenor, no golden lights. Only the quiet breath of a man who had held too much in silence. Even steadfastness grows weary sometimes. But he never let that weariness walk on stage with him, because he understood something few ever dare to admit. To let others shine, someone must choose to stand in the shade. And he chose that, without a single complaint. In a world where everyone wants to be seen, Duane Allen chose to be the one who keeps it all together, even if it meant no one was looking at him. And in that silence lay the truest song he ever sang. When the stage lights dim and the applause fades into the parking lot, Duane Allen returns to a very different kind of life. No noise, no glamour, no celebrity parties or endless talk of the entertainment world. He goes home to Nora Lee. They met when they were young, and the way they chose to stay together wasn't built on grand promises, but on presence, quiet, constant, and real in every passing day. More than half a century has gone by, and they still share the same table, still speak without raising their voices, still understand each other without needing to explain. Their love doesn't live on stage. It lives in the kitchen, on the porch, in the wooden chair by the window, the place where Duane sets down his guitar each time he returns from a long tour. People often ask him, "How do you stay so peaceful when a performer's life is full of storms?" Duane just smiles. A small, gentle, unmistakably Texas smile. He doesn't preach. He simply believes one thing. Music and marriage require the same gift, listening. In music, he listens to the breath of every other voice. In love, he listens to the person beside him, not to respond, but to understand. Some artists are only truly alive when they're on stage. But Duane is most himself after the lights go out. His family life isn't made of dazzling peaks. It's built from ordinary things. A shared meal, a held hand, a knowing glance. And yet, that very ordinariness is what everyone spends a lifetime searching for. Faith, for Duane, has never been a slogan. It's the breath that fills his days, present in the songs he sings, in the love he protects, and in the calm way he chooses kindness in a world obsessed with standing in the light. Duane Allen never needed to chase being special. He chose to be the peace that others could come home to. And sometimes, that is the greatest thing a person can ever be. Some voices rise and then disappear like waves against the shore, but there are others that never try to stay. And somehow, they remain in the listener's heart for a lifetime. Duane Allen's voice is one of those. It doesn't try to claim the listener's soul. It simply lays a quiet hand upon it and lets the heart open on its own. For more than half a century, the Oak Ridge Boys have traveled through time, across the golden decades of country, gospel, and Americana. They've sung at the White House, at the Grand Ole Opry, in cathedrals echoing with reverence, and in small towns so quiet they had only one main street. And everywhere they went, people didn't just remember the songs, they remembered the feeling, a warmth, a fullness, a harmony that could only be built upon a voice steady, genuine, and true. In Nashville, songwriters called him the Golden Voice, not because he sang higher or stronger than others, but because his voice was the axis, the line everything else balanced upon. Without him, their sound would lose its direction, like a train slipping off its rails. The CMA, ACM, Grammy Awards, and countless halls of fame have etched the Oak Ridge Boys into history, but those framed accolades, they're only paper proof. The true legacy lives elsewhere, in the people who found a piece of themselves in their music, in the families who sang their songs around kitchen tables, in the soldiers who played them far from home, in the children who grew up with those harmonies running through their veins, never knowing why they felt so familiar. And at the center of all those memories stands a voice that knows how to yield, how to lift, how to steady, how to love. The voice of Duane Allen, a voice not made to impress, but born to remain in the song, to remain in the listener, and to remain in the one thing music has always tried to reach, the connection between souls. In recent years, Duane Allen's rhythm has slowed. No longer filled with the relentless tours of his golden era, he still appears with the Oak Ridge Boys, especially for anniversary shows and concerts that carry meaning for the country and gospel community. His health, as with anyone past 80, has mellowed, but his voice remains warm and steady, as if time itself could not steal the gold from his tone, only deepen its shine. Duane and his wife, Nora Lee, now live quietly in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Their mornings are spent watering the garden, reading the Bible, their afternoons sitting on the porch, listening to the wind move through the trees. It's not the fiery love of youth, but the kind of love softened and made gentle by time. In a recent interview, when asked what he feels most grateful for, Duane smiled and said simply, "I still get to sing. I still get to stand beside the people I love. That's enough." He has nothing left to prove. No need to keep rhythm for the whole world as he once did. Now, he sings for the joy of sound itself, for the memories awakened in each note, and for the quiet certainty of still belonging where he stands. On stage today, he no longer carries the harmony on his shoulders. The other members breathe with his same cadence now, each of them infused with his steadiness. They exchange glances, and a single nod is enough to understand. At this age, Duane possesses something the young have yet to find: clarity. The peaceful vision that comes when you look back and finally see the shape of your life. He once told a fan during a small meet and greet, "I don't think I've done anything great. I just tried to sing kindly and live kindly." The words were light, so light they seemed ready to drift away, but they lingered, deep, sufficient. Like his life itself, quiet, uncompetitive, untouched by the hunger for spotlight. All he ever needed was to stand exactly where he belonged. And that place, From the boy standing in a tiny Texas church choir to the man still steadying the harmonies today, has never changed. The keeper of rhythm, the one who lifts others up, the one who makes the music whole. One day the stage lights will go out, the charts will change their names, and every voice, no matter how strong, will someday fall half a note lower. But some things never fade, like the way one voice quietly holds another, like the way one person chooses to stand behind so someone else can step forward, like the way one heart keeps time for an entire lifetime. When people speak of the Oak Ridge Boys, they remember the deep notes that rumble like the earth, the soaring highs that burn like fire, the timeless silhouettes standing in the light. But if you close your eyes and listen closely, you'll hear an invisible thread, binding it all into one voice. That thread is Duane Allen. He isn't a legend because he stood in front. He's a legend because he remained, like the spine of a body, silent, unseen, but without it, everything would collapse. The world is full of people who want to shine, but very few have the courage to be the light for others. Duane chose the second path. And that choice made him a different kind of legend, one that doesn't need to shout to be remembered. Now, when you listen to a song by the Oak Ridge Boys, pause for a moment. Don't listen for who sings the loudest. Listen for who keeps it all standing tall. If you can feel that presence, it means his music still lives inside you. Do you remember where you were the first time you heard the Oak Ridge Boys? And which of their songs has stayed with you the longest? Share it in the comments below, because your memories are where the music comes alive again. If this story touched you, hit like, so the algorithm knows that stories like this deserve to be heard. And don't forget to subscribe, so you won't miss the next journey as we open another door into the memories of music's living legends. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening.